Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today I am super stoked to be presenting the coolest bike that you probably never heard of. I know that the name Motus is not a household name, but it is the name of a manufacturer that for about 5 years produced motorcycles in the Birmingham, Alabama area. This Motus is the MSTR version, and it's the top of the line version. It comes with the kind of the sport touring fairing on it. It does have the GV hard bags. This also has the red valve covers here, and that signifies it's the uprated motor. This bike puts out 180 horsepower and 126 foot-pounds of torque, so it is monstrously fast. This engine is built using similar technology to like an LS 350 crate motor, and so it's got the overhead valves. It's got a cam in block design. It's 100 cubic inches, which, as I said before, is 1650 cc's. And keeping, instead of having the dual overhead cams, you know, up here and all your drive to drive those, what it does is it keeps a lot of your weight very, very low in the engine. And this engine actually only weighs about 150 pounds for the entire engine. This bike weighs about 550 pounds. It's got just a really nice power to weight ratio, and it's different. Suspension on this bike, it's top-notch Öhlins, fully adjustable units, front and back. It's got the huge Brembo, the monoblock calipers, and they're on the braking rotors. It also has Akrapovic exhaust. And again, just from front to back, when you look at this bike, it's got top-notch components. And everything was designed for robust reliability and simplicity. And so even your alternator on this bike is an automotive unit, meaning that you can go to the auto parts store and actually buy a new alternator for it. Same thing with the oil filter. It's a common unit used on Kawasaki and Indian motorcycles. And it's just meant to be something that is meant to last. Even the coils on this bike are actually from a Corvette. They're sourced from a Corvette. So again, it's readily available, it's proven technology, and it's robust. It should last a long, long time. But the real question is, what is this bike like to ride? I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit nervous. It's a high-powered bike. It does not have rider aids like traction control. It doesn't have ABS brakes. I'm anticipating it being a lot of fun. I'll grab my helmet. I'll bring the camera along. Let's find out together. Let's ride.
I am currently riding the Motus MSTR, and wow, this thing is really a cool bike. First thing I'm noticing is this bike's easy to drive. I was expecting it to be a little bit hairy-chested. It's got a mean sounding motor. It's got that V-4, and it kind of sounds a little bit like a Ducati with a dry clutch as it's idling. But as soon as you're going, it's very smooth, just very nice. Transitions from side to side are very easy. This thing has carbon fiber wheels. It's the first bike I've ridden with the carbon fiber wheels, so it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a learning experience for me. The brakes are amazing. They're the big monoblock units. And that just picks up speed instantly. But very smooth. I get a little bit of vibration under acceleration through the bars, but it's kind of a lower frequency vibration that you would typically get on an inline 4. Wind protection is nice. I'm not getting any turbulence from the windscreen. The exhaust is not overly loud. You can hear it, but it's relatively subdued in cruising like I am right now. One really nice feature is how narrow this bike is between my knees. There's no motor back there, so it can be really, really slim. And that's really nice. The way the ergonomics are set up is very, very comfortable. I'm really surprised at how comfortable this bike is. The switch gear looks like it's from Kawasaki. It's definitely very familiar if you've driven a Japanese bike. Woohoo! Oh man. Yeah, this thing is just a hoot. And the fun thing is, it just, at low RPM, it just has all sorts of monstrous torque. The suspension up front, it's the Öhlins units. They're very compliant. It actually does dive a little bit under braking, but it's well controlled. And it's definitely a plush and well controlled ride. Really, really nice. Oh yeah. And really, the way this thing is fueled, it's super smooth. I am shocked at how easy this thing is to ride. That's really my first kind of overriding impression, is how well this thing works. I was expecting it to be a little bit unrefined, and it's just not. It's very well put together, very well sorted. You can tell that the guys at Motus just did a knockout job with their R&D, and as far as the bike's manners on the road, it's just really nice. Yeah, that's fun. Shift quality on this bike is nice. The gear engagement is excellent. And that's just another thing that's actually surprising to me, is how well that functions. Typically on a low production number motorcycle, and we're talking under 1,000 units, I think, for total Motus production. I don't know the exact number there, but on a low number production motorcycle, they're usually, they have an unfinished feel to them. And this thing just doesn't. And due to the relaxed gearing, and it's just, you know, 70 miles an hour is just over 3,000 RPM, and you know, you just got that torque immediately. Plenty of passing power, but this is almost vibration free at 70. And I'm sure it would be a comfortable place to eat up a lot of miles. This is, you know, it's a little bit heavier than a pure Super Sport. And you could just shift this thing at 4,000 RPM, just keep their RPM between 3 and 4, and have a whole lot of fun. It just doesn't, with that much torque, you're not required to take it anywhere near redline. Yeah, neat. And the sixth gear, it's geared tall enough, it's really like a just kind of a highway overdrive. I think this bike would really excel at higher speed roads with some kind of long sweepers. It is certainly just comfortable. And again, my expectation of this bike, I was a little bit intimidated. And they've done such a good job of offering a refined product. This bike is, I'm not going to use the word tame, but it's definitely easy to drive. It's not a beginner bike by any stretch, but it's just not a, you know, hairy-chested custom that wants to buck you off the back of the bike. I've ridden, you know, bikes from Japan. I had an RC51 that was far less easy to ride than this bike is. The transmission is definitely, it feels robust. It feels like it's going to last, you know, a couple 100,000 miles and take a lot of abuse. It's not quite as it doesn't snick into gear maybe like a Japanese unit, but it definitely feels robust. Yeah, if I were to describe the power delivery of this Motus, I would say smooth intensity. Definitely likes to be over 3,000 RPM. It's a little bit, it feels like a V-twin to me, below that engine speed. It's just a little bit rough, but above 3,000 RPM, it really smooths out nicely. And then that torque is just amazing. And so really kind of the sweet spot at 3,000 RPM up to 5,000 RPM. The gearing on this bike is taller than a lot of bikes that I've ridden. And so whereas, you know, I'm doing a corner and it would typically be a second gear corner, on this bike it's a first gear corner. And I'm, like on normal bikes, I would be in a taller gear right now, but this thing is just geared so high that you really are going to spend on a back road, you're going to spend more time between third and fourth gear. Yeah, and if I spent some more time with this and got comfortable with it, I'm sure I could absolutely fly. And again, that acceleration from 3,000 RPM is mind-blowing. The brakes are world class. I know they don't have ABS, but they have such good control feel. And 99% of the time, I would rather just have awesome brakes than okay brakes with ABS. Yeah, riding this bike just makes me want to go upstate, hit some mountain roads, do a nice longer trip. It's just supremely comfortable. Wind protection is great. I'm getting a little bit of wind on my helmet, but no turbulence. The mirrors are nice with a good clear view behind me. Even at lower speeds, the fueling on this motor is nice. Corner exits are just amazing. And even in this tighter technical stuff, this bike is easy to ride. And for such a high performance machine, I was hesitant to take it on these tighter back roads before riding it, and then after riding it I was like, man, it'll do those no problem. Yeah, Motus did just such a nice job with these bikes. They're very well put together, great high-end components. You know, ultimately the economics of things killed them, but they did such a good job. You know, first time out, this is a fantastic first effort from any motorcycle manufacturer. And honestly, this is a better bike and better built and easier to drive and better fueled than a lot of bikes I've driven from even Japan or Germany. It's just a really nice product. We'll see over time if these become, you know, if the prices go up, they become a collector item. But, you know, time will tell. But even though the economics did not pan out, the guys at Motus can be proud of this bike. It's just a neat machine.
All right, that was super fun. Yeah, I'm really surprised with this bike. I'm surprised at the refinement of the fuel injection. It really was a nice refined bike. There were some things that you could tell they would have refined over time. The smoothness of the transmission. But as I said, I've driven less developed transmissions from much bigger companies, and this is just, I like the feel of robustness even in that transmission. I like the way Motus used a lot of already developed components. You know, what that means to me is you're not going to have, you know, switch gear issues. They use, you know, off-the-shelf units. You're not going to have issues with the brakes. They're using Brembo units. You're not going to have issues with the suspension. They spent their time developing that engine and then transmission, and then they use other components that already had the R&D done for the rest of the bike, and it allowed them to put out a great product right off the bat, right out of the gate, one that's honestly more well developed than a lot of bikes from a lot of bigger companies. So they just did a good job. We'll see over time how the value on these things goes, but I'm very pleasantly surprised. It was not nearly as intimidating to drive, very refined. Thank you so much, Bill, for letting me ride this bike. Just an honor and a privilege. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.